Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And again, if you're looking for my MLB best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday, August 31st. First up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. Now, with Martin Perez on the mound for the Rangers, I do like the Astros lineup and offense in this game. When you look at the Astros, they're number 2 in isolated power and number 1 in team OPS in the last month against left-handed pitching. They have a very, very low 12.1% strikeout rate as a team. That is one of the lowest totals you're going to see in a month for an offense, and they have a pretty high walk rate as well at 9.2%, which is inside the top 10 as well. You know, Martin Perez wasn't too bad against the Rockies at Coors Field last time out, but this is just such a tough matchup for him, facing a red-hot lineup against those lefties in the Astros. And the last start that Perez faced the Astros, it was back on August 9th. He went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits, 7 earned runs, a home run, 3 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. I'm going to take the Houston Astros here on the money line and lay a little bit on the run line as well. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. A 2:10 Eastern start time for this one. No official lineup for this game as the Pirates have not announced a starter, but we should see Freddie Peralta going for the Brew Crew, and I was impressed with him in his last start. 6 innings, no earned runs, no base hits actually, and only 1 walk allowed. 5 strikeouts in that outing. Now, the Brewers did lose that game in extra innings, but certainly wasn't Peralta's fault, and that's actually been the case in Peralta's last 2 starts against the Chicago Cubs. 2 strong outings and 2 games where the bullpen lost it in extra innings. But I do think the Brewers offense shows up here against the Pirates in what could be a bullpen game, which I don't like at all. And we could see a spot starter that maybe goes 3-4 innings for Pittsburgh. And really, this Pirates pitching staff has been one of the weaker ones in the National League this season. I think on the road here, where they're 22 games under 500, I've got to take the Milwaukee Brewers on the run line. So give me Milwaukee laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the San Francisco Giants. Joe Musgrove and Alex Wood are your starters. You know, these are 2 pitchers that are not in the best of form. You look at Joe Musgrove, his last start against the Royals, he only gave up 2 earned runs, but he really wasn't sharp in that game. He only went 3 2/3 innings. He gave up 8 base hits, only had 2 strikeouts, gave up a walk, gave up a home run, and 5 total runs allowed. So 3 of those were unearned. So his defense didn't do him any favors. I still think he's the better option in this game. He pitched well against these Giants back on August 9th. 7 innings, 1 earned run, and the Giants have just struggled against right-handed pitching in general in the last 30 days, while the Padres, they're facing a lefty here in Alex Wood, who in his last 2 starts, he's gone 7 2/3 innings combined. He's given up 15 earned runs and 5 home runs. He's not in good form right now, and the Padres, top 10 in team OPS against lefties in the last month. I do think they'll be able to get to Wood here. I trust the Padres lineup and bullpen just a little bit more as well. So what should be a close game, I'm going to take the San Diego Padres on the money line. In our next game, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Tristan McKenzie for Cleveland and Jordan Lyles for the O's. And when you look at Tristan McKenzie's last start against the Mariners, yes, he gave up 3 earned runs and a home run. Yes, he took the loss in that game, but it was really one mistake pitch. He gave up a 3-run homer to Mitch Haniger in the first inning, but the rest of his start, he was razor sharp. He finished with 6 innings of 3-run ball, only 3 base hits allowed, so I do think he'll have a strong outing in this one, and I like how he's pitching as of late in general. When you look at Jordan Lyles on the other side, he's coming off a good start against the Chicago White Sox, but he's been so inconsistent this year. Before that White Sox start, he gave up 4 earned runs in back-to-back games against the Rays and the Red Sox, and only about 4 innings of work. And even in his good start against the White Sox last time out, he still gave up a home run. He still gave up 9 base hits in 7 innings. He's facing a really tough Guardians lineup that limits strikeouts at the plate, and the strikeout numbers have kind of been all over the place this season. I don't really like Lyles in this one, especially with the Orioles being on the road. So give me the Cleveland Guardians here on the money line, and I'll lay a little bit on the run line as well. Next up, we see Mike Minor and the Cincinnati Reds taking on Jose Quintana and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, I just can't trust Mike Minor in this game. I know he's coming off one of his best starts of the year, but that was against the Washington Nationals. He went 7 innings. He only gave up 2 earned runs with 7 strikeouts. But he still gave up a home run. We know the home run balls really hurt him, giving up already 19 homers in 79 2/3 innings. And when you look at the St. Louis Cardinals, no team has had better power numbers than them in the last 30 days against lefties, as they're number 1 in isolated power. They're number 3 in team OPS. They've got one of the lowest strikeout rates as a team against lefties as well. So I do think the Cardinals offense shows up here, especially at Great American Ballpark. I think they get to minor here for enough to win this game going away. So give me the St. Louis Cardinals on the run line. In our next game, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Miami Marlins. No official starter for the Marlins quite yet, so there is no official line. We should see Drew Rasmussen on the mound for the Rays, and he's having a really strong campaign this year. Now, his numbers on the road, not as strong as when he's pitching at Tropicana Field, but I still think he's good enough here against a struggling Marlins lineup to get the win for his team in Tampa Bay. When you look at the Marlins' numbers offensively against righties, they're ranked 30th, dead last in the league in team OPS with a 608 team OPS against righties and a 27th in isolated power. So we know the Marlins is a lineup that doesn't hit lefties at all this year, but now they're starting to also struggle against those righties. Their strikeout rate isn't too bad against right-handers, but I still think Rasmussen's going to pitch pretty well in this one. I don't really love the option that the Marlins are going to be going with on the mound if they go with a bullpen game or a spot starter. So give me the Tampa Bay Rays here on the money line. In our next game, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Anibal Sanchez and James Caprillion on the mound for this game, and I really don't have a lot of faith in either of these starting pitching options. However, when you look at Anibal Sanchez in his last 9 1/3 innings pitched, only giving up 1 earned run, and those were 2 starts against the Padres and the Mariners. And we know those two teams well above 500 this year. And in fact, his last 3 starts, the Nationals have won all 3 of those games as the underdog. And they're the underdog yet again in this spot. When you look at James Caprillion on the other side, he's having some issues with his control. He's given up 10 walks in his last 7 2/3 innings, giving up 10 earned runs, 10 base hits, so a lot of 10s there for Caprillion. I don't think he's in great form. The Athletics have lost 3 of the last 4 games that Caprillion has started in. And I do think that the Nationals are having a little bit more value here at home, getting the plus money on the money line. The only thing that doesn't make me love this play is the fact the Nationals have the lowest walk rate against righties in the last 30 days, 4.8%. So maybe not being able to take advantage of those control issues for Caprillion as much as I'd like to see. But still, I'm going to trust Sanchez just a little bit more in this spot. I do think the Nationals have the better bullpen. So give me the Washington Nationals on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Mitch White for the Blue Jays, no official starter for the Cubbies right now. When you look at this Cubs bullpen, we saw it struggle in the first game of this series in Toronto. The Cubs had a nice 4-0 lead. Assad gave them 5 innings, a no-run ball. But then the bullpen made its way into the game, gave up those 4 earned runs. And then in the extra innings, the Blue Jays found the run to win it via the walk-off. But I do worry about this Cubs bullpen, especially if they decide to go with the bullpen game in this one. I do think the Blue Jays offense will show up in a big way. But on the other side, Mitch White, is coming off not a great start at all in his most recent outing. He went 5 innings, giving up 8 base hits, 7 earned runs, and a home run against the Los Angeles Angels. I know the Angels are heating up offensively, but still, they've been a lineup that struggled mostly in the last 2.5 months or so. And when you look at the Chicago Cubs, isolated power-wise against righties in the last month, they're in the top 15. We saw them compete offensively in the first game of this series against a much tougher starting pitcher, in my opinion. So I do think they'll be able to compete in this game offensively. I'm going to take the over in this Blue Jays-Cubs game. Next up, we see Jacob deGrom and the New York Mets taking on Tyler Anderson and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Jacob deGrom's first 29 1/3 innings pitched in 2022. He's got a 2.15 ERA and a very impressive .55 whip, 46 strikeouts in those innings, only giving up 2 walks in his first about 30 innings pitched. Very impressive stuff. He's already faced some tough lineups. He faced the Braves twice. He faced the Phillies once already. So I do think he'll pitch well in this spot. I know the Dodgers have the best lineup in baseball against righties, but I think you're facing the best starting pitcher in the league in Jacob deGrom. While on the other side, Tyler Anderson, I do expect a quality start from him as well. He's really doing a great job at keeping the ball in the yard, only giving up 10 home runs in 140-plus innings this season. He hasn't given up a single home run in any of his last 4 outings, and he's pitched really well in those outings. Also, a bunch of quality starts thrown in there. So give me the under in this Dodgers-Mets game. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Detroit Tigers. Marco Gonzalez and Tyler Alexander are the starters, and I'm going to lean towards the over in this game. Not my favorite game on the board, but when you look at Tyler Alexander, he is really struggling. I just don't think he's MLB ready right now. He's given up 5 home runs in his last 3 starts combined against below 500 teams in the Rangers, Angels, and White Sox. Mariners have a pretty powerful lineup. They've done pretty well against lefties overall this season. So I do think they'll be able to score on Alexander quite a bit. And I think on the other side, the Tigers can pitch in a few runs on Marco Gonzalez. We know the Tigers team competes pretty well at home this season. They definitely hit lefties better than righties overall this year. And Gonzalez, I think he is due for some regression. The xFIP above 4 right now. So give me the over in this Tigers-Mariners ballgame. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Atlanta Braves. Ryan Feltner and Kyle Wright are your projected starters. Kyle Wright really struggled back on August 4th against the New York Mets. He gave up 6 earned runs, he gave up 4 home runs, but after that start, he bounced back against the Red Sox, and I really like what I've seen from him ever since that game. Against the Red Sox, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts, and he had a 13-5 ground ball to fly ball ratio. In the start after that against the Astros, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, and 7 strikeouts. Really strong performance there. Another Braves win by more than a run. And then we saw in his most recent outing against the Pirates, the best one we've seen so far, 7 innings, 2 hits, only 1 walk, no earned runs, and 8 strikeouts. So he's missing a lot of bats. He's pitching well. The Braves are backing him up offensively. 3 straight run line covers for him. And I do think he'll get another run line cover. I'm willing to lay 2.5 runs here with the Atlanta Braves. As when you look at Ryan Feltner, he has an ERA at 5.87. When you say, oh, he's a Coors Field pitcher, what's his ERA at home? It's actually lower, 5.52 at home, and a 6.19 ERA on the road in his first 32 road innings, a 308 opponent's batting average. The Braves are one of the toughest lineups to face, especially for a young pitcher. Give me the Atlanta Braves here, laying 2.5 runs. It's the Minnesota Twins and the Boston Red Sox. Michael Wacha and Joe Ryan are your starters. The big thing for Joe Ryan this season, he loves pitching at Target Field. In his 67 home innings this year, he has 68 strikeouts, a 179 opponent's batting average, and a very sharp 2.69 ERA, while on the road in his 46 innings on the road, a 5.05 ERA. So definitely a huge split there from home and road starts. Yet again, his last start was at home, and yet again, it was another good outing as he went 6 innings, no earned runs with 8 strikeouts against the San Francisco Giants. I think he pitches well here against the Red Sox team that is not doing much with runners in scoring position against right-handed pitching. And when you look at Michael Wacha on the other side, he was pitching really well against the Yankees and Orioles. His last start against the Rays, one of his worst of the season, as he gave up 4 earned runs and 2 homers in that game. The Red Sox went on to win that game as their offense showed up, but I don't think they do much here offensively against Joe Ryan. So give me the Minnesota Twins here on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Chicago White Sox. Lance Lynn and Chris Bubic on the mound for this one. Now, I do think the White Sox are going to win this game, and I like their offensive matchup here against Chris Bubic. However, I don't want to lay the money line or run line price. I don't think there's a lot of value with the price where it is right now at minus 190 on the money line, because Lance Lynn's going to be facing the Royals lineup here for the 3rd time in the month of August. I do worry about that a little bit. I know he's trending in the right direction. When you face a team over and over again in a very short period of time, I do give the advantage to the offense. So rather than taking the White Sox, I'm going to take their team total over against Bubic, who's coming off one of his worst starts of the year, where he went 4 innings against the Padres, giving up 9 hits, 6 earned runs, and 2 home runs. One of the bigger issues for Bubic this season has been the walks. He's allowed 49 walks in about 99 innings, so about a walk every other inning. And the White Sox have a really good walk rate against lefties in the last month at 11.4%, which is 3rd highest in baseball. The team OPS is also in the top 15. So I do think they'll be able to get to Bubic. I don't really love this Royals bullpen also. So give me the team total over 4.5 runs here for the White Sox. I lean towards Chicago on the run line as well. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Los Angeles Angels with Garrett Cole and Patrick Sandoval on the mound. Now, while I do think that Garrett Cole is the better starter, and I think the Yankees are the much better team overall, the Yankees have just had some issues lately, especially away from home. We saw in that Oakland A's series, they took the first 2 games, they looked like they were maybe going to pull off a sweep or at least a series win, but they dropped the final 2 games of that series. Even in the first game of this series, they faced a pretty hot Angels team that just got off a sweep in the Blue Jays in Toronto, and the Angels showed up again and took the first game of this series in a pretty beneficial matchup, I thought, for the New York Yankees. So I do think Garrett Cole, we've seen him have some issues against teams that can hit the long ball, and with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani now in the lineup for the Angels, it provides a pretty tough matchup for pitchers like Garrett Cole, and I do think the Angels will be able to find a few runs on him. While on the other side, although the Yankees lineup has been very good against lefties this season, Patrick Sandoval's in really good form right now. His last 2 starts going 15 innings combined against the Tigers and Rays, giving up only 1 earned run with 14 strikeouts. I think the Angels compete in this game. I'm going to take them on the plus 1.5 run line here as the home dog. And in our final game of the night, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Bailey Falter and Tommy Henry, two lefties on the mound for this game. I'm going to take the over on this one. We saw the Diamondbacks. They were down 7-0 in the first game of the series. Ranger Suarez was in great form, and then all of a sudden, the Diamondbacks poured it on. They scored 12 unanswered runs, most of those coming against Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez, two lefties. And I do think that even though the Diamondbacks' numbers against lefties haven't been the best in the last month, they'll still be able to put some runs up on Bailey Falter, who has an issue with the long ball. He's already given up at least one home run in 3 of his last 4 outings. In 2 of those games, multiple home runs against some pretty weak teams in the Pirates and Cubs. So I do like the Diamondbacks offense here. I do think the Phillies will get to Tommy Henry, who's got an xFIP right now above 5. The Phillies' numbers offensively in the last 30 days, number 4 in team OPS against lefties, number 4 in isolated power. Despite the loss in the first game of the series, they still were able to get to Madison Bumgarner. They scored 7 earned runs, 11 base hits in that game. It was all Phillies early because they got to Bumgarner, the lefty. But I do think they'll score here yet again against another lefty. Give me the over in this Phillies-Diamondbacks game to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday, August 31st. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.